All right. Thank you, Brandi. Thank you, McKay. We're so pleased to be able to provide that context for our incoming board members. In the last 3 years, and it's amazing that it's been 3 years since we started this process, much has changed about our community, particularly in light of COVID. And so we wanted to provide a little bit more of an update in terms of our discussion and what has happened and what we will be proceeding with in the next coming years and that long-term strategies. So first we wanted to mention some of the property acquisition pieces. Our affiliate has continued with those programs that have proven successful. Our homebuyer program has continued and is serving our families even in the midst of the COVID crisis that we're facing right now. Utilizing that, we have continued with the infill development, acquiring property where it's available and at a reasonable market rate. A bulk of our program this year has been those infill lots. We've also utilized some of the existing structures that are a part of our community. These are more episodic than they are regular, but every year or so we will incorporate one or two existing homes into our homebuyer program. Pieces that need just a little bit of love, and we're able to go from there. So Brandi, as someone who has the full history here, what have you seen our affiliate accomplish over the last couple of years that you want to particularly draw attention to for incoming board members?
Sure. So it was amazing to see how our board just took off with some, and our staff took off with some of the opportunities that were presented to us within our community, even while we were finalizing the details of the proposed plan, actually. One in particular was a large parcel acquisition that we were trying to close on, or trying to get our hands on, actually, and that was in the Brookfield Chase neighborhood. So if you're not familiar, we already have homes that are out in that neighborhood that are Habitat homes, and so this was immediately adjacent to a developed neighborhood, and it was a parcel of land that was untouched, undeveloped, and really a rare opportunity within Fayette County for anyone to get their hands on, actually. But we did have a unique opportunity. Rachel had a unique opportunity to have discussions with those property owners, and we did go into negotiations to acquire 22 acres of land for our affiliate. Now, granted, this would have been something well beyond anything we've ever done. It was a leap of faith to try and do this and tackle this much property, and I think it would have hit on not only our property acquisition short-term goal, but also start to dip our toe in the water of one of our long-term goals, which would be, if we'd had the 22 acres that we own, we would want to seek a partner to develop that. So I have to give credit to our board for backing that, supporting that. Ultimately, we did not get the property. The numbers didn't work out. The money was just more than we could handle and more than what we felt the market was actually driving it to be. And the infrastructure costs were pretty considerable. So while we didn't act on that or finish that, it was wonderful to see our board and our affiliate strive to seek out that new type of development for us. Is there anything you'd like to add to that, Jeremiah? You went through that one with us as well.
I want to follow up a little bit more on the partnerships aspect of it. So many of what we see as our short-term and our long-term goals we're going to require new partnerships and new levels of partnership. And so all of that requires conversations. Obviously, in light of our COVID situation this year, many of those conversations have stalled a bit, but we have worked with those existing developers so that when those opportunities for a development plan that's moving forward, perhaps there's an opportunity for us to be a part of that. We are also continuing those conversations that will lead us a little further down the road for regionalization. Various executives with our local affiliates, Madison, Clark counties, Scott and Bourbon County, Jessamine County as well. Those are conversations that Rachel has had and that they continue to learn from one another and to share resources where appropriate and possible. And so we're excited to see where those conversations go from here. But all of those are partnerships that we have worked hard to cultivate and to strengthen, and we're excited to see where that takes us over the next 5 to 6 years. Obviously, depending what happens a little bit as well with our upcoming strategic planning in 2021 and what the board and invested parties see as our strongest needs going forward. McKay, I wanted to pull in you a little bit and talk a little bit more about potential development on Perry Street, where we're at with that, and kind of how you see the next few years impacting some of those pieces in our community.
Absolutely. Looks like we're still trying to get some home buyers on board for the Perry Street project. I think we've been a little slowed down by COVID and our ability to interact with them. But I do think, this goes into like kind of that urban infill niche that we're kind of left with pursuing. Lexington housing market has been very tight. Our community's always put an emphasis on preserving our farmland through the urban service boundary. So that's kind of created a limit on our ability to develop and find suitable lots to build. So builders and the whole housing market is kind of had to deal with this same thing. And I think, so we're going to focus on trying to do some more urban infill stuff that fits that need. And I think it's kind of also a piece of that partnership and looking at surrounding affiliates and maybe looking to try to build in some of that land that's available and surrounding outside of Fayette County that would allow us to help serve more families.
Yeah. And Jeremiah, can I add a little bit more context for our incoming board members related to Perry Street, which is, as you'll remember from the presentation, one of our short-term goals was to explore further if we could do this attached model, new construction. And so before Perry Street was a project for us, we did gather another ad hoc committee to start studying and understanding how would we as an affiliate design a project like this, how would we construct it, what the sponsorship model might look like. And so we started to chip away at some of those questions. Granted, we didn't have all the answers. And simultaneously, as McKay can tell you, Perry Street was happening. So we were lucky to have that real life model working parallel with our study. But I'm glad that we had that opportunity to study some of these items in more detail, because we could then report back to the full board, provide them with more information and a little more security in making that decision to pull the trigger and proceed with a Perry Street project, since it was the first time that we were ever going to try the attached model. So that's just a little bit of context. It didn't happen, just in a bubble. There were a lot of factors that were being explored and studied to make that decision with Perry Street.
And I think these contributing factors have caused the organization and the board to be a little bit more nimble, a little bit more flexible. And I think certainly with everything happening with COVID, that's going to play a big part in what we're doing going forward.
Yeah.
One of the other pieces I wanted to draw a little bit more attention to with Perry Street is that the reason it was such an interesting site for us to examine before it was ever a project that we were moving forward with was that it was really the smallest possible footprint that we could make that project happen on. And so it gave us some parameters to look at additional properties that we might be interested in, and hopefully will give us some pieces that we can ultimately learn lessons from and then export throughout the community successfully, and as McKay said, a little bit more nimbly than we will this first time through.
Yeah.
Wanted to talk a little bit about our rental pilot as well. So we have in the past weeks signed our first lease with a home buyer, a participant in our home buyer program. And so we look forward to the lessons and the opportunities that will come from that. Right now, this is a home buyer that is interested in purchasing the home that she is currently leasing. And so we'll see how that comes through, but that accomplishes another one of our short-term goals that we're very excited about moving forward with and continuing to learn from the coming years.
And tell me, Jeremiah, as we started to initiate this rental agreement, did we look at other affiliates, at other models to set forth our strategies, our lease, our processes, and what did that look like?
We did. One of the beautiful things about Habitat and being a Habitat affiliate is that there are vast resources available and other affiliates that have done just about any project that you can imagine. And so we were able to have conversations with affiliates in a variety of communities similar to ours, and in some cases very, very dissimilar to ours, to see what had worked for them and what was successful. Thankfully, we found ourselves in the right time frame. Habitat International was interested in examining some of those pieces and giving some additional freedom to affiliates. And so we have availed ourselves of that and look forward to continuing to learn from that and with Habitat International. But it is a large network, and so the pieces that we've taken away from it are a lot of affiliates are able to do this very successfully at a large scale. There are neighborhoods and homes in their communities that are available for that. And home ownership is not always the right choice for everyone right now. And so those affiliates have seen that and have seen the success of the participants in those programs as well. That is largely a research project that lived with Rachel, and she, I'm sure, would be happy to share some of the additional learnings that she took away from that. But there were no red flags, and so we've been excited to move ahead with that and see how those other pieces came together.
That's great. That's great.
So for us, the next questions really are going to be answered with 2021. Where does our board of directors see us going? What are the pieces that we want to provide for ourselves in that strategic planning? We have such a great basis in this housing solutions work that has gone before us, and it's hard to believe it's been 3 years since that project took off and was shared with the board at that point. But as we continue to see accelerations in home prices and appraisals continuing to rise for our affiliate, 2021, I'm sure, will bring plenty of opportunities and challenges.
That's
Okay,
right.
Brandi, anything else you all want to add?
Well, I would just say to our incoming board members and even the ones who are re-upping their time with us, we all have an opportunity with 2021. COVID, while as bad as it has been, also offers an opportunity for us to reflect and say, where can we make changes and do things better, or what are we doing wonderfully, which we are doing some things wonderfully even through this pandemic. I look forward to working with everyone in that regard and exploring how these long-term strategies that have been proposed can start to be explored further as well, in addition to the short term.
I want to echo what Brandi said a little bit. I look forward in this coming year with the new board members to actually be back to feet on the ground and interacting with the families that we're helping. And, I think that we haven't stopped our mission and we haven't stopped our work towards our goals, but it'll be nice to get back to those interactions with the people that we're helping and to remind us what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Very much so. Thank you all for your time, and we look forward to seeing everyone in person when those pieces are again allowed. So take care.